I am the interpreter, and I am going to speak in Spanish now. So, buenas noches a todos los que estén aquí presentes en la sala, como los que están ahí por el Zoom. Bienvenidos a esta sesión de esta noche. Les recuerdo, por favor, que si quieren escuchar esta sesión en español, tienen que apretar en el globo al calce de su pantalla, como ven en esta pantalla, donde dice interpretación. Y podrán conectarse con el canal en español, si es que desean escuchar en español. Entonces, les invito a escuchar en español y cuando apliquen en el globo de interpretación. Muchas gracias y hasta luego.
Thank you very much, Antonia. I want to thank everyone for coming out here tonight. My name is Devin McNally. I'm the director of the city's Housing and Community Development Department, and I will have my other panelists introduce themselves, starting over on the end over there.
Good evening. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Shabu Philippos. I'm the Deputy Chief of Police for the city of Takoma Park.
Captain Matthew Mazzotti. I oversee administrative services for the city of Takoma Park Police Department.
Hi, I'm Daryl Braithwaite. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Takoma Park.
All right, and today we're here to hear comments about the request for sidewalks and traffic calming in the city. A little bit about this process. We are going to be talking about projects for the upcoming fiscal year 2027. And so we took online requests that closed back in October 31st of 2025. And now we're at consultation. So this is where the public and everyone else gets a chance to kind of look at those requests and review them. It'll go through a technical scoring and evaluation using criteria that we'll lay out in the next slide. And then it'll be presented before City Council. As part of the budget process, they will approve projects, and then they will move into design, and then the approved projects will get constructed in the next fiscal year. For sidewalks, they will be designed in the next fiscal year, but then constructed in subsequent fiscal years. If you're just walking in, there are handouts and a sign-up sheet over to my right. We encourage you to sign in and grab a handout, and it has the list of approved submissions. A little bit about the technical review. This is a scoring system. Of those, 5 are metrics that are simply scored based on the metrics outlined. So there is equity, safety, trip generators, the roadway characteristics themselves, and population impact. And so all of these are given a technical score by the committee. Staff also looks at feasibility. This is the only piece in which we would rule out a project, and that's looking at the right-of-way or utility easements. So if we have the ability to construct, or if there are certain utilities that might prevent the construction of such a traffic calming device or sidewalk, looking at topography, and then any other site constraints that might exist. So for tonight's meeting, we've organized all of these requests by ward. If you want to give oral comments, you can raise your hand. We have our one of our staff members will come and bring a microphone for you to talk. In the interest of allowing everyone to get to say their piece, we're asking that you try to be concise with your comments. There is also the ability to provide written feedback on a form. We have the link right there. We will put it in the chat, and it will also be up on the website. So if you are listening in or watching the recording of this tomorrow, that will be open until February 20th for you to provide comments on one of these requests. And the complete list of submissions and maps will be available on the city website as well. So like I said earlier, all of these requests are for fiscal year 2027. In some cases, there are requests that are outside of traffic calming and sidewalks, such as parking permit zones, bike infrastructure, or the paving of streets. And so in some cases, we've removed submissions that were received. Some of the reasons are that the request was outside of the city limits. So if the project lands with outside of the bounds of the city, it is not controlled by us, and so we aren't able to make any changes to that roadway. There are a few different state highways that exist within the city, and they are administered by the Maryland State Highway Administration, known as SHA. So when we've received those requests, what we are doing is forwarding those to SHA. We have quarterly updates with SHA staff, and we will be bringing that up along with the transmission of those requests. We also have Sligo Creek Parkway, which is overseen by the Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning staff. And so they will be receiving lists of requests related to that particular piece of property. They do have a safety initiative underway focused on Sligo Creek Parkway and Flower Avenue. And so we encourage you to go to their website and learn more about that project. Enforcement requests such as speeding and running stop signs has been forwarded to the police department. Similarly, they have a stop sign camera pilot that is just beginning, and we have a link to their pilot program if you're interested in learning about more. There's 18 stop signs right now within the city that are now enforcing stop sign rules. For maintenance, we are forwarding any maintenance requests, so this is chip sidewalks and that sort of thing, onto Public Works for them to review. And then finally, we received a number of requests related to areas that are going to be studied in detail. So this includes the Ward 6 New Hampshire Gardens neighborhood, Flower Avenue, and Lincoln Avenue. And so we are holding these requests because they will be transmitted to the consultants who will be working specifically on those areas, and the recommendations that come out of those traffic studies will be included in this process. So for example, for Ward 6, that is being wrapped up right now, we will be presenting those recommendations at the February 25th City Council meeting. And then those recommendations will be brought into this process as staff recommendations based on the work done by the consultant. Finally, traffic control is not a traffic calming or a sidewalk, and so those pieces are not included. There's specific standards related to traffic control devices such as stop signs, and that's what we use in determinations of those specific items. So with that, we're going to launch into our submissions, and we'll start with Ward 1. There's one request, which is a speed hump on New York Avenue between Takoma Avenue and Baltimore Avenue. If anyone would like to comment on this request, feel free to raise your hand. Do we have any online? Do we have any online comments? All right, seeing no comments, we'll move on to Ward 2. We have a number of different requests here, so we'll start with our sidewalk requests. There's a sidewalk request for the 500 block of Ethan Allen from Elm Avenue to the crosswalk at Prince George's. There is one for Davis Avenue on the 900 and half of the 800 block. Elm Avenue in its entirety including Elm from Auburn to Larch and between Larch and Lincoln, and then Larch Avenue between Lincoln and Elm, and Larch Avenue between Elm and Lincoln. And you can see all of these requests. They are mapped out here. The lines indicate a sidewalk request, and the dots are traffic calming. Are there any comments on these sidewalk requests?
Hello. Yes, I have a comment. Well, first, I have a question about the, there was for Central Avenue, where Central and Davis, the first 2 blocks from Carroll down to Jackson, there was a request for speed humps there, but I noticed that it was moved to the other page under enforcement. And can you explain why?
Yeah, you're talking about Central by Central Avenue. I just want to make sure I'm
Yeah,
at the right
Central
spot.
Avenue that goes from Carroll to Jackson, those 2 blocks.
Yes. So we have 2 planned traffic studies coming up. One is looking at the Flower Avenue, including that neighborhood as well, and the other is looking at Lincoln Avenue. And so in cases where we saw traffic calming, what we did was we are holding those so that there is a holistic look at the entire neighborhood, so that when we have those recommendations, it's together as a package, understanding all of those traffic flows together. So this is not to say that those are not good ideas. It is to say that we want to look at those in relationship to the larger neighborhood as we go into that traffic study.
Okay, so moving it under, maybe it's under enforcement right now, but part of the traffic study is really what makes sense for it to be
Correct.
labeled under. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
For people who want to comment. Okay. Who's the one who? Oh. I believe Councilmember DeBala, you are able to speak at this point. You just need
Yes.
to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Great, thank you. This is very helpful, the way it's organized, and I appreciate the opportunity to ask a question. So the Ethan Allen Avenue North Side, Ethan Allen is a state highway, but this is not being kicked over to SHA. So could you, for the residents, explain why this is still on the city list?
In the past, we've done ADA compliance along existing state roads where there's existing sidewalks, because State Highway has said in their purview, they don't believe maintenance is their responsibility. In terms of new sidewalks, I don't know. That's something we might need to take another look at. We would certainly have to get State Highway's permission to install a sidewalk along a state road, because it is their right-of-way and not the city's. So that may be one that we might need to put into the State Highway bucket.
But having it evaluated by staff as for safety and other criteria could be helpful in terms of making the case. So that's what I thought, why I thought it might stay on this list for now. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It does have a history. There was an effort many years ago to try to build sidewalk on one side of State Highway, and it was rejected, I think, by the residents at the time. But so we'll have to look into that and kind of see what the status is.
Thanks.
Do we have any other comments?
Yes, we have Catherine. Please unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I live on Hayward Avenue, which is in there on the map, and put in one for both Larch and for Elm Avenue. So I saw Elm Avenue was very popular, according to this. Between Auburn and Larch, the sidewalk just kind of goes away. And I know it's a little bit narrow there, but it's, as a pedestrian who walks that often, and I have a 1.5-year-old, it can be a little bit where I'm kind of dodging between parked cars, and then cars are coming and I'm getting out of the way and trying to go back in. So it would be just really nice to have the sidewalk that ends at Auburn, and then picks up again at Larch, to have that continue through, so it makes it a lot safer to walk. And then it would also be nice to have one on Larch itself, because there is one going toward New Hampshire Avenue, but then it goes away in between Elm and Lincoln. So just being able to have a safer way to get to bus stops. I know there's a school bus stop as well, right there at Elm and Larch, for elementary school kids. I think that would make it a lot safer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As well as another person with a question. I'll read the comments since those came in first. From Jessica Landman. For Ward 1, are you going to revisit the items listed on the chart that you skipped in the first round?
You want me to answer that? So the handout, which unfortunately our Zoom audience has not seen, has the entire master list of submissions. And the reasons for those that are not on the list of traffic calming and sidewalk submissions that are moving forward now. So many of those in Ward 1 were actually on state highways where we do not have jurisdiction, or they were maintenance. We will post all this information tomorrow, and so people can come through for themselves and see what those criteria were that made it not possible to take action on those now.
Another question written from Caitlin. Does that mean that citizens won't have the opportunity to offer comments on those traffic calming proposals that have been moved to under enforcement, or will that come later in the meeting?
So at the moment, we won't be accepting comments on requests that we've moved into one of those buckets, because they are not requests that would be handled through this particular process.
Forgive me if I get your name wrong. Nydia, online?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. I just want to echo the previous comments made about the request around Larch Avenue and Elm. I also live in the neighborhood. I live on Devonshire and have 2 young children, and there are a lot of children in the neighborhood, and it would be really helpful to have to have sidewalks and more infrastructure here. So just wanted to chime in to support that.
Thank you very much. All right.
Hello, I'm Roger Schlegel. I noticed that one of the not actionable items for Ward 2 would be a marked crosswalk on Goody Avenue on the Circle Avenue Paper Street, and that's actually in Ward 3. But I wondered, since it is a pedestrian route, what rules out doing a marked crossing there?
Yeah, so marked crosswalks and stop signs are traffic control devices, and so they are considered through kind of an evaluation separate from this process. So we're looking at traffic calming and sidewalks. All right. Continuing on the list of Ward 2 submissions.
A hand came up afterwards, sorry. Brendan?
Hey there. 2 questions. One broadly to the last comment from, I'm sorry, the gentleman who was just speaking. Can you speak to the thinking of separating out traffic calming versus traffic control? Seems like a lot of these projects are being shunted for action later because there's a broader study going on. To an outsider, it just seems not very comprehensive to move certain things to a traffic control bucket as opposed to traffic calming instead of a comprehensive look at all of the options on the table. Secondarily, the other question was about some of the Ward 1 stuff that got taken off the list. And some of those that are associated with Philadelphia Ave. There's plenty of issues along Philadelphia Ave from a traffic calming, traffic control perspective. But some of those submissions, while adjacent to Philadelphia Ave, I question whether the right-of-way is actually State Highway Administration, particularly the submission for Park Ave. There is no crosswalk at the mouth of Park Ave where it joins Philadelphia Avenue. And that's right for a crosswalk. It's a very wide opening. A lot of kids in the neighborhood. And the fact that there's not an actual crosswalk there is wild to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to speak briefly to the issue of why crosswalks and some of the other requests are not being considered in the traffic calming and sidewalk process. It's because the criteria for crosswalks could be evaluated just based on a number of factors. The city plans to set up a process where we list out the factors kind of similar to what we do with stop signs, following the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. So for crosswalks, they don't tend to involve construction or infrastructure. It's typically just thermal markings on pavement. So it's a lower cost and it's a simpler process than compared to sidewalks or traffic calming, which typically involves construction, either bump outs or speed humps or changing profiles of roads, and sidewalks, of course, includes construction of sidewalks. So for those requests that are things like crosswalks, we're going to look at those on a citywide basis and evaluate where crosswalks should be based on a number of factors: pedestrian generators, proximity to schools, bus stop locations, and then we intend to come up with sort of a list of criteria that would rank any intersection for, regardless of whether it comes from citizen requests, but just as an overall process through the city, so that crosswalks are being installed anywhere they meet those conditions. So because it's not a similar process to traffic calming or sidewalks, we're putting them in a different category. They don't need to go through this type of process. They generally are lower cost and can be installed and don't have a community engagement process because they're driven by very different factors.
Do we have any more comments? All right, I'm going to finish the list of Ward 2 submissions. We have a few more sidewalks. I think we've gotten to a couple of them, including Hayward Avenue, and then Central Avenue between Davis and Garland, and Central Avenue between Carroll Avenue and Jackson Avenue. And then for traffic calming, we have speed humps or speed tables at Jackson Avenue between Boyd and Sligo Creek Parkway, Heather Avenue and Elm Avenue, Prince George's Avenue and Circle Avenue, and then Prince George's Avenue and Elm Avenue. So any further comments for Ward 2?
Catherine?
Hi again. Doing a comment on the Heather Ave and Elm Ave speed hump or flat top speed hump. That's for context going down to the park, which I know it's a really scary intersection for kids crossing over Sligo Creek Parkway, which I know is not in the purview of this, but I think even just having something that helps cars go more slowly down the hill, a lot of cars speed up the hill, would make it safer to go to the park. And I also think there's not a stop sign for the cars that are coming up the hill on Heather and turning right on Elm. I could be mistaken on that, but that also kind of contributes to them just going around that corner. There's no crosswalk or anything. And so it can make it a little bit scary when you're walking with kids down to the playground there.
Thank you very much. All right, we are going to move on. Oh, one more comment.
I'm sorry, I noticed the Jackson Avenue between Boyd and Sligo Creek Parkway, which is also shared between Ward 3 and Ward 2 since the redistricting happened 4 years ago. I believe from talking with residents on the west side of Jackson that the concern is associated not just with speed but with visibility because there is a curve involved on Jackson, I think. Yeah, so in terms of where the issue is, it could be something to do with the slight curve in the road there.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to Ward 3. We have four sidewalk requests, including Kansas Lane on the block between Westmoreland and Eastern Avenue, Circle Avenue, Fifth Avenue between Westmoreland and Orchard Avenue, and then Fifth Avenue between Westmoreland and Orchard. And then there is a request for a raised walkway at 4th Avenue and Poplar Avenue, and then Cockrell Avenue and Circle Avenue. And then there is a request about Manor Circle for additional speed humps and traffic or signage restrictions. Are there any comments on any of these items?
Roger Schlegel. I'll just share what context I know. For Kansas Lane, there is a Metrobus stop at Eastern and Westmoreland. And the one side of the road is interrupted by the Darlene Apartments parking lot, which has back in, back out parking, so it's a little bit concerning for pedestrians. The other side has an intermittent maybe or very narrow, about 2-foot sidewalk. So recognizing that it's already a very narrow street, I think that's the issue being raised. There's also a children's school bus stop at the corner of Westmoreland and Westmoreland and Kansas, right there. So I think I've also talked with parents who wanted a little more space for children and adults not to be sitting with their legs out in the street. The Circle Avenue request, I haven't heard anything particularly about that. Fifth Avenue between Westmoreland and Orchard Avenues, I've definitely spoken at length with residents about that. The west side of Fifth Avenue, because it's the flat side without homes with retaining walls, tends to be the route that children take when they're running back and forth down the street. They're in the lawns on that side. That's also the parked cars side. So periodically, children will run straight out between parked cars, and it is a significant cut-through street, and it's heading downhill towards Orchard at that point. So there's some fear expressed by residents that in the absence of a sidewalk, you never know when a child will be like, okay, let's switch and run out into the street here. So it's a children's safety issue, and it is a walk to school issue because children along Fifth Avenue usually access the school bus stop at the VFW, so they proceed north on Fifth Avenue, and then adjacent to the park, they turn left and walk down Orchard, which has a sidewalk. And then as far as the raised walkway goes at 4th and Poplar, that is probably one, probably Chief Philippos is probably familiar with that as an intersection that has a lot of drift through or straight run through traffic behavior. So I believe the concern comes from that, and that it is a walking route up to Lidl and other businesses. Last, Cockrell Avenue at Circle Avenue. I have not heard anything specific about that one. Oh, and then Manor Circle, I think it's reflected in the notes, but people have been reporting that there's an increased incidence of cars going into or out of Ethan Allen in the wrong direction. So in other words, they're coming from New Hampshire, and even though that is a curved out access to the neighborhood, they're taking the curve really hard and heading up through Manor Circle, or they're coming through Manor Circle and then taking that stub end and illegally turning left onto Ethan Allen. So that was one of the signage concerns. The other signage concern is more generally, I believe, when people enter Manor Circle from the entrance closest to the junction, they encounter a triangle that has a stormwater retention area, and it's unclear to them that they need to stay to the right there instead of going left around the circle. I think that's all that I'm aware of from conversations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments on Ward 3 traffic requests? Oh.
My name is Bruce Williams. I'm a former council member and mayor, and I've dealt with traffic studies in Ward 3 more than 30 years ago, and I think your process here is very good. We took things more in isolation then. I have a couple of comments. One, just a general comment as I read your list. With the change requested, you say traffic signage or restrictions, and I think it more accurately would reflect a lot of requests to say and rather than or and or, because I imagine that signage and restrictions go together. I'm particularly interested in the 300 block of Lincoln Avenue, which is where I live, and the neighborhood is very happy with the stop sign that got added at Lincoln and Carroll. The problem is that, like anything having to do with effects of changes at the junction, it made it so that that's the new route to avoid the junction, and traffic increased, I would say, tenfold. And I would hope that the traffic study will come up with some good suggestions to deal with that. I'm not sure what they'll be.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Moving on to Ward 4, we have 3 requests for sidewalks. One at the intersection from the northwest side of Maple and Ritchie Avenue to the driveway at 7610 Maple. So this is about 100 feet. We have Oswego Avenue from Hefner Park to the park's trailhead. And then one on Jefferson Avenue and Lincoln Avenue. Are there any comments on these requests? All right, we're going to move along to Ward 5. We have 3 sidewalk requests. The first in front of 8315 Roanoke Avenue. We have Brighton and Houston Court, and then Houston Circle, Brighton Avenue, and Houston Avenue. And then we have a request for traffic signage or restrictions on Roanoke and Houston. Are there any comments on these requests? Nope.
Yes, hi. This is Alan Fetter. I have comments on a couple things that weren't included. I think that there was a request for completion of the sidewalk at the lower end of Domer Avenue, and in the right-hand column it says it's Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning, but the area in question is completely under the city's jurisdiction, and I point out that and it was said during a council meeting that, the sidewalk only served the residents, but that's not in keeping, that's not actually in line with the facts that most of the people who go down to I have pictures of people with young children walking down there, and also Cherry Avenue, which goes all the way down to, this is not in my ward, but that goes all the way down to the parks. There's no safe access there, but that did not terminate. I think there are other reasons for the sidewalk terminating, but I think that's not consistent. And so the rationale that that's Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning does not seem credible. And then on the other is the Wabash Path extension. I made several requests to the city manager and my ward, and also to Public Works. It says it's not in the process, but without receiving any feedback saying, so I'm sorry this isn't in the process, please submit your request otherwise. And I don't want to speak for my Ward 5 council member, but I got the impression she thought that the Wabash Avenue should fall under the sidewalk. So that's all I have to say. But I will submit these comments online further, so you'll have them in written form as well. And those comments, I can include photographs as well to support, or is it limited to just words?
It's just comments. We don't have a file upload feature.
Okay. Well, I have something here. I don't know if it's the right venue to give this to you, Devin, or. But
absolutely, we can take it after the.
All right, I won't interrupt the flow of things, so I'll wait until after the meeting to bring it up to
you. We have Kara Honzak online.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Are there any other residents who want to speak? Because I want to make sure they can speak before me.
We'll continue with comments afterwards, so there will be plenty of time to accept additional.
Okay,
comments.
I just want to make sure I don't crowd out any residents. I just wanted to speak quickly. Thank you to anybody who's come out from across the city. I'm very excited about this process. This is the first time in my 4 years on council that we've gotten some formal requests, and I want to share that some of these requests are actually coming directly from me. Such as, and they were reinforced by, for example, our postal worker, and they were based on my own observations that there's an equity issue, in my opinion, and also a population density issue, particularly at Brighton and Houston Court, Brighton and Houston Avenue. And those in particular have come partially from me, as well as my concerns about Roanoke and Houston, and the high density of children in particular, but also just residents getting on and off buses there. So I just wanted to emphasize that in this public setting. And to the Ward 5 resident who just spoke, Mr. Fetter, I did in fact think that possibly the Wabash Path extension would be part of this process. It is my understanding that it is a city path, it is paved. We don't have any other process to my knowledge that would speak to that. It is a walking path on city property that is paved. So if you could quickly speak to that, and then if we need to follow up more later, I would appreciate going on record right now in front of the public about the process for that, please. Thank you.
Given that the pathway is there, the sidewalk technically exists, so it would most likely be a maintenance or an ADA compliance piece versus a construction of a sidewalk. So that was our thinking in terms of why it got put into that category.
And would we be able to make a request then? I mean, what would be the pathway to make that request, Director Braithwaite?
Each year we have funding for ADA compliance work, so that could be
I
added
see. Okay.
to the list of projects assigned to that funding.
Okay, so it would be, can I formally make that request, or shall I put it in writing?
Sure. I mean, either way, I
Okay.
would say during the budget
Okay.
process, that's probably the best time to emphasize that, because that's
Okay,
when we'll
thank
be
you. I'm sorry to
speaking.
use resident time for that. I just, since there's someone there specifically asking about it in case anyone's interested. Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay.
Are there any other comments?
Yes, there's a follow-up from Caitlin, and I'll just read what she has written. I just had a follow-up question to my earlier question on traffic calming requests that have been moved to under enforcement. If this committee is not hearing comments on these proposals, who should we direct our comments to? It's deeply important to me that I vocalize my concerns about the safety issues caused by the constant cars speeding down Central Avenue by Davis and Jackson Avenues.
Yeah, so all of these requests, if they are marked as enforcement, are transmitted to the police department. The police department takes all requests and uses that in their data. And I might look over to Captain Mazzotti and Deputy Chief Philippos to talk a little bit about their process.
Sure. Excuse me. Yeah, the police department will accept all concerns from our residents about traffic enforcement or traffic issues that they see. We have a traffic enforcement unit that will go out and evaluate each concern or complaint that we receive and determine what's the best process moving forward, whether it's an education campaign or whether it's an enforcement campaign, or if it's something that we have to forward to PW or other entities to improve either traffic flow or traffic compliance.
And if I could speak to that as well, a number of these items that are marked as enforcement on the master list are areas that the police department's going to look at more closely. There's just not enough data. So part of what our traffic enforcement unit does is goes out and collects that data, the volume of cars that are traveling down these streets and the general shape of the roadway. And for this in particular with Flower, Davis, Jackson, we are waiting on additional data to come in now that our stop sign cameras have gone live, and we're going to see if that actually has an effect on drivers' behaviors.
This is also a good moment to remind everyone that we have 2 upcoming traffic studies. We're just wrapping up the Ward 6 traffic study. This includes Flower Avenue, which will include the neighborhood that includes Central and Garland. And then we will also be looking at Lincoln Avenue after that and the neighborhood surrounding that. Any other comments? All right.
Oh, there is.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the captain just mentioned the stop sign enforcement with the cameras, but I noticed that the Central and Davis is not on that list. I know it's in the same neighborhood, but I do think that the specifics are different in terms of principally the speed that everybody is going through, even if it's not as many cars as on Flower. So I just wanted to register that.
Thank you very much.
And a lot of children in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right in the direction.
All right. Any other comments? All right. Moving on to Ward 6. What I will say is this only captures requests made by residents. We will be adding to this list. We are finalizing the recommendations from the New Hampshire Gardens traffic study, and that will include a number of traffic calming and sidewalk requests that came out of that specific study. Those are ones added to the list by staff. They will be scored the same with the same methodology and added to the list that is presented to council. The one request that we got was for Merwood and Glenside Drive. Do we have any comments on this request? All righty. Before we wrap up tonight, are there any final comments? I want to give everyone a chance to, if there was one that was missing or someone walked in late, I want to make sure everyone has a chance.
There is also an online hand raised as well.
I just have a quick question about traffic studies and about projects such as the Maple Avenue Connectivity Project. After you're done doing a traffic study or coming up with a project such as the Maple Avenue Connectivity Project, how does that work into this process? So some of the things that people asked for, you're going to do a traffic study. How will that work in the budget, and will that just become its own sort of separate thing that won't be a part of traffic calming and sidewalk projects?
Yeah, so all of our traffic studies, the recommendations coming out will be included in this process as staff recommendations, since they will come out of a study. So they will be presented alongside requests. They will be scored under the same criteria, and then they will be brought forward to be considered by council alongside the other different requests, including requests that were not funded in previous years. From that, they will be considered and funded in the same process that any of these requests would be. For the Maple Avenue Connectivity Project, that is a separate project that was funded through a state grant and it's a design grant. And so that project would require additional funding and direction by City Council to move forward with construction.
Thank you.
Jessica Landman.
Thank you. And I apologize to be having to take up the time of people in the room who have seen the explanation for why things were omitted from the list in Ward 1. So I'm just going to have to ask because I haven't seen the list or the explanation, only the master list. I'd like to know whether the Park Avenue between Carroll Avenue and Valley View Avenue, I had submitted a request there for placing a traffic calming lane for bicycles going counter, I forget what you call it, but counter to the one-way street as a mechanism for slowing traffic on the street, which has parking only on the other side, as well as a recognition of the fact that many, many bicyclists already go against the one-way street there, heading downhill towards Maple Avenue, and that's much safer actually for them to travel on Park Avenue than to take 410, which would be the other route to meet up with Maple Avenue, or actually to meet up with Valley View and then turn onto Valley View to make their way safely to the intersection of Philadelphia and Maple. So was that not considered, because since it alludes to bicycles, it's considered bicycle infrastructure, even though I submitted it with the idea of traffic calming? And I also, just since I can't see the list, would really just like to know the reasons why all of the other sidewalk requests are just listed as sidewalk, but I don't know why they were not considered. Thank you. Sorry to have to do this to however many people are sitting in the room. Apologies for that. Thank you.
Yes, so in regards to the contraflow bike lane on Park, you're correct that because it's a bicycle infrastructure, it was not part of this particular process. We don't have a process to kind of evaluate that sort of thing. And so that is similar to crosswalks, something that we need to develop. There were a number of sidewalk requests that were seen as kind of by way of what the request in reading it as staff were determined to be maintenance projects. And so those have been forwarded over to Public Works for them to review and take action to address what seemed to be the concern expressed within that request.
Okay, thank you. I will just, at the risk of beating this dead horse, point out that last year when I asked about this question, it was suggested, this contraflow bike route, it was suggested that this would be the venue for bringing it up. So I'm looking forward to figuring out what the venue will be if it's not this, and it's not a crosswalk, so it may not fit into that strategy or that category either. Thank you.
I just also wanted to speak. I think some of the items that are on the list, particularly in reference to sidewalks, were requests where we already have existing sidewalk on one side of the street. And the city's policy since we started this sidewalk program has been to first install sidewalks where there are none on either side of the street before we start installing sidewalks on streets that already have them on one side. I know that that can be particularly frustrating for folks that feel like they would like it on their side of the street as well, but that has been the policy up until this point. If council directs otherwise, then we can open the door to that. But so far, given the long list of needs and the high cost of sidewalk construction, we've been prioritizing those streets that don't have any sidewalk for construction first. I think that's why some of that park between Carroll and Crescent, there is sidewalk on one side of Park. So, so that may be where some of those got put into that category.
No problem. I understand that. And then there is a reference to Willow Avenue. And is that a sidewalk matter there that is on the maintenance list? Along Willow between Tulip and Valley View, is that a maintenance question?
I'm not seeing that on the list. Does anybody put eyes on it?
I'm not seeing that. We can follow up after this meeting if there's one that might not be on the list. And what I will say is that all of this full list will be published on the website along with the comment form, which will be held open for the next a little over a week and a half, so that anyone can provide comments on this if you are either think of something later on or were unable to attend. I think there was another comment.
Yeah, Kirk Gilbert, Ward 4. I'm sorry to have you circle back, Director McAnally, but in regards to the Ward 4 sidewalk projects, I was just curious, and there may be a reasonable explanation, maybe some direction that I missed earlier, but there's a submission that we had for the 7400 block of Hancock Avenue for a sidewalk install. And I was just curious here, because it said that it's done. Maybe, again, I missed some instruction, but if you can explain that. And then I know in the beginning when we talked about this project, there were two options. One which was to build from the sidewalk into the roadway, and we would lose the parking on Hancock Avenue in the 7400 block. And the other option was to excavate in the right-of-way and build the sidewalk on the right-of-way, and we would be able to preserve the parking. So just curious as to why it says it's done, and are those two options still available?
The Hancock sidewalk is one of the ones that was approved for design by council in this current budget year, FY26. So the three sidewalks that were approved were sidewalk design on Hancock, one on Hammond, and one at the end of Glenside and Wildwood. So those are currently in the process of, as well as Garland Avenue, Garland Avenue from Carroll down to wherever it connects to existing sidewalks. So that's what it means by done. Not that it's done, but it's already in the queue for design in the current fiscal year. And so we've assigned that to a traffic engineering firm. They're doing the survey work and developing the base maps and starting the design process. And as soon as they have something developed or ready to go, then we'll schedule a community meeting to review and get feedback on the various impacts and options, and, you know, hear from the community about, you know, the value of each. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any further comments? All right. So once again, I want to plug, one more comment.
Oh, just asking, I actually live on that block of Hancock, and I'm very interested in how the design proceeds, and so we would get notification, because I'm actually in Ward 1, but I'm like right there on that border, so we would get notification.
Yeah, the process will be as soon as we have a design ready, and what we've asked the engineering firms to do is develop options for either side for those sidewalks. And so once they have their base maps completed and their options developed, they're doing tree inventories and those kinds of things. Then we'd schedule a meeting. In the past, we've been having them remote, and it's been fairly effective. So we'll send out a mailing to all the houses affected in the area. Certainly the council member will know. We'll also have it on our webpage. So we have a current project webpage for sidewalks, and you'll see it show up there. The design plans will show up there. When we have a meeting, we'll record it, and so the recordings stay there as well. And then we get comments and feedback, and the design gets adjusted. So yeah, that'll be a very public process.
I just have one more comment, and it has to do with sidewalk designs. And I know I've shared my views many times with folks at the city, but there are guidelines versus requirements. And one of the things that I've touted is that the fact that there are guidelines for sidewalk widths, and then there are requirements, and some of the sidewalks are like extremely wide based on the traffic on them, and there are implications for the amount of greenhouse gases because of concrete and the amount of runoff. So if you do a 4-foot sidewalk, which most of Montgomery County does, that's in their codes, that's adequate. I don't see people running into each other all over Takoma Park because the sidewalks are too narrow. That's quite the contrary, and most people are very polite around here. So I'd like the city to consider in many of their designs, especially if it's a tertiary road, to consider the 4-foot. It's a resource thing. Daryl pointed out, the director pointed out how expensive sidewalks are, and if you reduce it by a foot, that's a 20% savings right there on materials, and you also avoid the attendant runoff effects, and also people who care about greenhouse gases. That's just another thing for consideration. So that's just my final comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. And with that, we have up on the screen the Traffic Calming and Sidewalk Requests City webpage, which has all the information as well as additional information about the projects themselves. So you'll be able to access all the materials from tonight on there. And then below that is a link to the Google form where you can submit online comments. It will be up on that webpage as well. And once again, you'll have until February 20th to submit those comments. I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight or for joining us online. And we will be letting you know when it comes back to council along with those recommendations. Thank you all very much.